you has to clearly understand sustainable development. First, you know about what is unsustainability. Suppose deforestation, cutting of trees and then laying of roads, or cutting of trees, construction. Is it sustainable or unsustainable? Up to certain extent, it is sustainable, but beyond the limit, it is unsustainable. And the layman definition, sustainable development means development without affecting environment, without degrading environment is known as sustainable development. In the 19th century, majority of the industrial revolution, and then developmental activities started, economic growth also started, but completely economic growth, GDP growth is not sustainable development. You have to remember. Development in the sense, only economic development is not sustainable. Environment and economy is the both sides of the coin. Everyone has to balance both the things. Only economic development is not development. Majority of the Western countries, developed countries, in the 19th centuries, due to their technological developments, industrial revolution, fast growing of their nations, there is a lot of disturbance occurs due to industrial activities as well as economic activities. There is a significant impact on the environment and the social balance. Several ecological and social crises took place at that time. I am quoting some of the crises. So, first thing I am quoting social crisis. In the 19th to 20th century, American banking crisis, crisis of American hyperinflation, functional crisis of the 1930s begins, the worldwide protests against bureaucratic elites, oil shocks, the debt shocks of developing countries. These are some social crises, as well as ecological crisis. Mercury crisis of Minamata, oil spill, Torrican oil spill, Sivasco disaster, Bhopal disaster, Chernobyl nuclear disaster, global warming, air pollution, water pollution, environmental pollution, depletion of ozone layer, loss of biodiversity. All these are some examples, some crucial examples for ecological crisis. At that time, people thought all these economic developments leads to environmental disasters. All these things are unsustainable developments. Sustainable developments means long development, long-standing developments. What has to do? The long-standing developments in the sense, when sustainability comes, when sustainability defines, what is the sustainability definition comes, why is all the people, all the scientists, all the ecologists, major philosophers thought regarding sustainable development. What is the importance regarding sustainable development? If we are not giving importance to sustainable development, human beings may not sustain. Human generation as well as other living beings may not sustain. There is no future generations. Everything will be problem. Everybody everyone, all the living beings can face the problem regarding all these situations, especially environmental pollution, depletion of ozone layer, acid rains, all these crises. At that time, many philosophers explain the future, how it goes on. I mean, in 1968, the ecologist or philosopher Harding explains on his Tragedy of the Commons story, Tragedy of the Commons book. He explained very beautifully. He argued with all the people, all the major administrators, then politicians, everything. If individuals act independently, rationally, and focused on pursuing their individual interest. Here, individual in the sense, maybe nation, maybe state, or anything, or individual. If they are pursuing their individual interests, they end up going against the common interests of their communities and exhaust the planet's natural resources. Everybody is thinking their own selfishness nature. Our country has to develop, our country has to develop. So all the natural resources will be exhausted. What happens after sometimes? Even though we may not get proper air to breathe, we may not get proper water to drink, even though we may not get proper, I mean, at surface to stand. He gave alarming, he warned all the societies, all the nations in his book, Tragedy of Commons. After that, many discussions are going on. Then in 1972, a Stockholm Conference, UN Conference on Stockholm. And that majority of the UN conference, first UN, there is a several discussions going on regarding all these issues, environmental and then economic issues. Major conference, first theoretical moving on this first UN conference on environment and sustainable development, which will be held on 1972. In this, several nations and their administrator and their rulers, scientists, there is a large gatherers discussed regarding environment. This is the first conference regarding environment and sustainable development. Environment and sustainable development. What are the impacts, human impact on the environment, and how it was related to economic development? Both are equal. Economic development is required as well as environment. Without degrading environment is for most important thing. Here there is a lot of discussions went on. Then gathering was find to a common outlook and common principle to inspire and guide the world's population to preserve the human environment. Without these discussions, after sometimes there is no human beings, there is no human population. All these activities will goes on. This is the first conference regarding sustainable development. Then several discussions are going on everywhere. Then at the same time, scientists and then philosophers, everybody is thinking what is happening if it is going like that. On that situation, several discussions are going on. On that, several ideas regarding sustainable development get relevant. First one is the tragedy of commons and sustainable development in 1968. It's, the tragedy of commons written by Garrett Hardin. Then first UN conference on the human environment and sustainable development in 1972 at Stockholm. Next, this continuous prolonged discussions, rules and policies are coming on. Next, the Brundtland report is the Norwegian nation Brundtland. He excellently coined our common future in the book, a report as our common future and sustainable development. It is in the 1987. This is the first step to proper definition of sustainable development. With the Brundtland report, in our common future, he explained very brilliantly what is happening if we are going, if policymakers took decision, policymakers took out on economic development only. Everybody is thinking only on economic development. What will happen? Everything he discussed. At that time, he gave a beautiful definition regarding sustainable development. Sustainable development is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Development that meets the needs of the present. Only needs, not greeds. Without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own requirements. Simply we are thinking our future generations, we are giving technological developments, we are giving a lot of assets, everything okay, but without proper air, without proper oxygen, without proper survival, their food, their drinking water facilities, all these are their, constitutional rights. Without giving, without carrying all these things, without good environment, how they will sustain? This is very, very important thing. Everybody has to keep in mind. Everybody has to think while they are doing something. With this Brundtland report, he gave a beautiful definition, that is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Here, the key principle of sustainable development is the integration of environment, social and economic concern into all aspects of decision making. While making any decision, any kind of decision, even it may be for development, technological development or societal development, whatever it may be, everybody has to integrate environment, social and economic concerns. All these three should be integrated in all aspects of decision making. So here, with this report of Brundtland, everybody aware. Next, with this output, with this report of Brundtland report of the sustainable development, next summit placed Rio de Janeiro on environment and development in 1992. Here there is a beautiful, there is several laws, several policies to sustain our futures, to sustain our environment. Everything comes out. And then continuously it's going on for sustainable development. Then all the nations and then all the development nations, everybody is taking common goal. Then after that, in 1994, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change and Biological Diversity for Sustainable Development, it's going on. Then in 2015, everything is one by one, it is rectifying for sustainable development, even though there is a sustainable development goals. 17 sustainable development goals are framed. 17 sustainable development goals framed for our future. These sustainable development goals, also known as the global goals, are the blueprint to achieve better and more sustainable future for all the nations, which were adopted by all United Nations member states. Here, United Nations member states, in the sense at that conference, all the communities, all the cities, all the countries agreed in 2015 and framed 17 goals, sustainable development goals. They address the global challenges which we are facing: poverty, inequality, climate change, environmental degradation, peace, prosperity, justice, everything. These 17 goals are all intended to achieve, all are interconnected, and in order to leave no one behind, everybody, every nation has to develop equally and intended to achieve them all by 2020. This is the sustainable development. So sustainable development in the sense, development without harming environment. Development without harming environment. Without giving negative impact on environment is sustainable development. What are the sustainable development goals? 17 sustainable development goals, beautifully coined in 2015, but it has to be by 2030, we has to get all these global goals. What is these 17 sustainable development goals? First one is the no poverty. Second one is the no hunger, good health to all, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, renewable energy, good jobs and economic growth, innovation and infrastructure, reduced inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption. Everything I will discuss in elaborately. Climate action, life below water, life on land, peace and justice, partnership for the goals. All these are 17 sustainable development goals. First one is the no, goal one is no poverty. Still 700 million people live in extreme poverty. in worldwide. See the situation. We are thinking everywhere development is going on, but where is it? You has to think. Each and everybody has to think. End poverty in all its forms, everywhere. It has to end everywhere. But there is a lot of things are going on. But whatever it may be, even though everything is going on, but something is happening. To reduce poverty, what you can do, donate what you don't use first. This is very, very important thing under the sustainable development. Everybody may not give, may not donate everything, but what you don't use, what you don't want, somebody may utilize that. First, you can donate it. Whatever things, it may be clothes or whatever it may be, books, bags, everything, whatever you don't want, you can donate somebody. You can choose right people and donate it. With that also, some poverty can be reduced. Actually, every year, October 17th, we are celebrating International Day for the Eradication of Poverty. But every mind, each and individual has to think to reduce poverty. What I can do, what I may do to reduce the things. Second one is the second goal is zero hunger, no hunger. So we are thinking everywhere agricultural development is there, food security is there. I mean, there is a lot of modern developments. Everything is going on everywhere, but a third of the world food is wasted. Yet 821 million people are undernourished. See the situation. One side is wasting, another side is undernourished. Where is the sustainability? Sustainability means effective utilization, effective management of resources. Effective management of resources in the sense, there is no wastage. Effective utilization has to go from every side, every end. End hunger, achieve food security and improved nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture. Achieve food security. So in the food security, every individual, every person, it's the right to get minimal food security and improved nutrition. Only majority of the people are undernourished. Promote sustainable agriculture. So in the name of modern agriculture, we are using pesticides, fungicides. There are several lot of other effects are going on. This is also has to minimize. Waste less food. So while we are thinking if we are wasting a food, we are throwing the food into the dustbin, we have to think to cultivate the food, to grow the food items or fruits, whatever it may be, we are thinking we are sending into the dustbins. How much food we are wasting first, at the same time to grow or to prepare that kind of things, any rice or dal, whatever it may be, how much pain the farmer took. You has to think, everybody has to, every individual has to think while throwing the food. Support local farmers in the education of local farmers. I mean, all the farmers are not well educated. They know whatever they up to their ideas they are doing, they are farming. Being educated people, you has to educate the local farmers for sustainable agriculture without spraying much, pesticides, without spraying more pollutants, and then everything. So a third of the world food is wasted, yet 821 million people are undernourished. See the things. Wherever undernourishment is going on, so you have to educate. You can cultivate your own food in this direction, even in your home gardens like that also. Majority of the people, knowingly or unknowingly, they may not take proper food. Even though some rich people also, they may not taking good food, healthy food, nutritious food. In this direction also, you have to educate. Then food and agriculture sector offers key solutions for development and its control of hunger. Development and its control of hunger and poverty eradication. While you are wasting, you have to think how many people is not taking proper food. Why we have to waste? Especially in our country, wastage of food is much more. Every day we are wasting the food. Our country people is wasting the food. Even though we are under developing stage, but we are wasting lot of food. When zero hunger, where zero hunger can develop. So one side is wasting, one side is undernourished. So we have to minimize the wastage. At the same time, we have to educate the undernourished. At that time, only we can get no hunger or zero hunger. Good health and well-being. Ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. Healthy lives and promote well-beings for all at all ages. Passionate your family, then achieve universal health coverage, including financial risk protection, access to quality, essential health, access to safe, effective, quality and affordable medicines and vaccination for all. Good health and wealth, irrespective of age, gender. Majority of the children are undernourished and they have less resistance. At the same time, aged people also undernourished. Even some of the countries, women is undernourished. Good health is the right to all the living beings, especially all the human beings. Next one is the quality education. Quality education. Without education, there is no development. Here, education differs literacy. Literacy means only getting of degrees. Education means in which direction they has to go. What is the positive ways we have to develop for our country, our nation. That is the education. Literacy in the sense only how many degrees, how many members are passed in the 10th standard, how many are intermediate, up to intermediate stage or up to bachelor's, like that. That is literacy. But all literates are not educators. See thing. Education is people, those who are educated, they has to think sustainable development. without other deviations, without other thinkings, without other negative attitudes. Ensure inclusive and equitable quality of education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. Simply, while 10 years back, any people can study and then educated and then they know the things, certain technological knowledge or any knowledge. After that, it will be, upgraded. Everybody has to learning opportunities. Lifelong learning opportunity. Everybody has to get lifelong learning opportunities for all the people. Obtaining quality education is the foundation to improve people's lives. Quality education is the foundation to improving people's lives. So without education, without knowing the things, how they can, they can get good quality of the life. Hence, everybody has to educate. Especially what is your role here? You has to help, you has to educate the children, farmer, all the society towards positive direction. That is very, very important thing. Still, 617 million children and adolescents, lack of minimum proficiency in reading and mathematics and then English also. They have no, only they know the idea, they have some literacy, knowledge up to their local language, up to their mother tongue. Majority of the people still, they have no minimum proficiency. You have to educate them. You have to develop. That is the quality education. Quality education makes difference to the nation. Next goal is the gender equality. Everywhere we are thinking both girl and boy is equal. Well, we are pronunciating, we are, giving the speech, but still there is a gender inequality in many places. To achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls first. And ensure their equal rights. See the situation, pathetic situation, still there is many educated people, even though women are also highly educated, but 1 in 3 women has experienced physical and sexual violence. Still, see the situation, where is the education, where is the quality education? Gender equality is not only a fundamental human right. Simply we are thinking we are giving the rights to women like that. Thinking. But a necessary foundation is required in all minds. Basic foundation is required in all the attitude, all the people for a peaceful and prosperous and sustainable world. Otherwise, there is no sustainable world. If there is no equality, something will be up and downs will come. It's the mandatory thing. It's the mandatory thing for basic thing, human right as well as fundamental foundation is the gender equality. What is next? 6th one, clean water and sanitation. Not only clean water, air also. Without good drinking water, without clean air, there is no good health. Ensure availability and sustainable management of air, water and sanitation for all the people. Clean, accessible water for all is an essential part of the world we want to live in. To this, avoid wasting water. That is the first thing. Scarcity affects more than 40% of the world population. We have to minimize that. So in the avoiding wastage of water, yeah, tell me. Avoid wastage of water. Every individual has to positive attitude. You has to. You has to initiate the things wherever water is wasting, wherever resources are wasting. Otherwise, much resources are wasted. Here, individual, administrators, everybody has to take crucial decision, right decision while minimizing wastage of water. Minimizing wastage of water. Some noise is coming. Hence, clean air, water and sanitation is required to all the people. Goal 7 is affordable and clean energy. Affordable means everybody has to access it. Everybody has to purchase it. So ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable and modern energy for all. Affordable means easy to access. Easily they can get. Reliable, sustainable means which may not pollute it. While preparing the energy, suppose if we are using thermal power plants, there is a lot of pollution is going on. Sustainable energy is required to all. Use only energy efficient appliances and light bulbs, not only bulbs, everywhere. Efficient appliances while we are using any kind of things. 3 billion people still love clean cooking fuels and technology. See the situation. In rural community and in some of the below average communities, still they are using food for cooking, fuel wood for their cooking. They are getting lot of problems. Their lung problems and polluting everywhere. Everything is going on. Energy is central to nearly every major challenge and opportunity. Simple logic, if you have to study, just now you told, mom, charging is over. I mean, we have to prepare everything in the mobile only. But you have to think, what about remaining people? What about remaining people? Where everybody is, how they are getting renewable resources, how they are who is 19113? Have you no sense? Affordable and clean energy. is mandatory to all, everybody. Major challenge and opportunity to get renewable energy here. Goal 8 is decent work and economic growth. Promote sustained, inclusive and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment and decent work for all. So for economic growth, so only GDP is growing on, I mean everything nation is developing like that. But for every individual has to promote decent work, productive employment is mandatory. For sustainable economic growth requires societies to create the conditions that allow people to have quality job. Here, individual also having like that thinking, who has to do good job, who has to do in quality job, I mean with towards values and ethics. At the same time, nation also providing opportunity. This is the, I mean both the sides is required. If simply individual is thinking, oh, okay, what is happening, what is going on, it's okay. But at that time there is, they may not get decent work and then good employment. First, individual has his thinking towards sustainable job. And then still 1/5 of young people are not in education first thing, then employment and training. One thing, literating, but they are not educating. Here also there is lot of discussions are going on. One thing, I mean one side, many of the people is not interested to do something, that is also drawback. All these are going on, but whatever it may be, with our thinking, right directions, right thinking. So every individual has to get decent work and economic growth. That is mandatory. For development of nation, youth plays crucial role. Next goal is industry, innovation and infrastructure. Build resilient infrastructure. Promote inclusive and sustainable industrialization and foster innovation. Resilient infrastructure. Promote inclusive and sustainable industrialization and foster innovation. See, resilient buildings. I mean, earthquake resilient buildings. Anyway, I mean, all the buildings, all the constructions, they has the resilience. Then inclusive and sustainable industrialization. Sustainable industrialization. Industrial development is, it has to go smooth on. At the same time, then sustainable industrialization is mandatory. Investment in infrastructure are crucial to achieving sustainable development. Infrastructures too. Fund projects that provide basic infrastructures, roads, water, sanitation, electricity, everywhere, especially for developing countries, is required. Reduced inequality. Inequality within and among countries, among nations. Within nation there is a lot of inequality. At the same time, among nations also there is a lot of inequality. Rich become rich, poor become poor. We has to bridge, has to give gap, fill with that. We have to bridge the gap in between rich and poor. Rich and poor. That is mandatory thing to us, or otherwise there is a lot of inequalities there in between countries and among countries. Support the marginalized and disadvantaged. Where is the marginalization is there, you have to support it. And disadvantaged also. The poorest 40% of the population and less than 255 of global income. See the situation. To reduce inequalities, policies should be universal in principle, paying attention to the needs of disadvantaged and marginalized populations. Wherever is required, then we have to bridge the gap between these two. Next one is the sustainable cities and communities. Make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. Cities too. In cities also there is a crowd, lot of crowd, and then there is a pollution, lot of pollution. Everything is there, suffocation, and then there is a lot of slum. Everywhere it is going on. Not all the cities, but I am quoting some of the cities where it is not. Still, it has to improve. To reduce pollution, to reduce sustainability, then walking is, you have to give first priority to walk or using public transportation or cycling. With that, we can avoid sound pollution as well as other air and then other important environmental pollutions too. And then with that, we can reduce the utilization of the fuel also. 9 out of 10 urban residents, 9 out of 10 urban residents breathe polluted air. See the situation. But normal cities, normal town, villages is good regarding fresh air and then even the fresh water too. But especially in the crowd cities, they may not get proper, they are not getting proper oxygen to breathe. For that, also they has to do something for they has to grow their indoor plants or terrace gardening or home gardening, they has to make it as an individual role. Nation also has to initiate it. There needs to be future in which cities provide opportunities for all with access to basic services, energy, housing, transportation, and more. In the sustainable cities, in the sense, first of all, fresh air, pure water, sanitation is mandatory to all the people. Next, goal 12 is the responsible consumption and production. This is very important thing. Very important goal to individual. Ensure sustainable consumption. Whatever you are doing, whatever you are purchasing, whatever you are using, you have to think, is it required to us? First, here you has to, every individual has to reduce, reuse, recycle. That is the sustainable consumption. If we may not purchase this, purchase it. If you don't want, if anybody is not necessary to that, so no purchasing. There is 50% of the consumption is less, as well as you saved your money also. Everything, whatever, if you don't want, you have to think twice if you are purchasing anything first. That is the reducing. Even though if after purchasing, after using, if you can donate, if you don't, you may not use after sometimes. Recycling, reuse. So recycling of paper, plastics, glass, whatever it may be, everything, whatever recyclable, you have to recycle it. You have to send each and everything, even though it's not a money, it's not the matter of money. So how much we are getting, even though if you may not get anything, you are contributing towards proper environment production. You are degrading environment. If simply you are throwing any item into the environment. Every individual has to think while throwing anyway. Simply we are doing like that. 2050, even though if like this Earth like 3 planets are coming also, I mean there is no proper home to our lifestyles, to sustain current lifestyles. See the situation, imagine the situation. Everywhere we are polluting. I mean, majority of the areas we are converting as a dump yards. So, if continuously we are converting dump yards in the cities and in everywhere, pollution is going on. I mean, that surroundings also polluting. Nobody is residing that place. Up to sometimes, entire planet will be polluted. Entire planet, entire Earth, our mother Earth is converted into the dump yard. See the situation. What is the importance of responsible consumption and production too? If you don't want, if it is any harmful to the environment, you don't want to product it. First thing. That is very, very important. Climate action. So every time temperature is rising, global warming, many, Paris Agreement is went on, there is many international conferences, discussed regarding climate actions. There is many policies comes, but temperature is rising. Global warming is going on. Hence, you have to take urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts. If climate is, temperature is rising, climate is disturbed, then what will happen? Unexpected floods, unexpected droughts, then all the, majority of the rivers will be overflowed due to ice caps, but polar ice caps will be dissolved. Everything will be disturbed. There is no proper yielding of agriculture due to climate actions. Everything is suffered. Climate change is a global challenge that affects everyone in every way. Simply we are thinking, okay, what is the problem? We are employees. What is the problem? We are so and so. So there is no courtesy to climate. Even though how you are sophisticatedly you are going on. So we have the ACs. What is the problem if temperature is going on? But human are survived. See the situation now. Everybody having the AC, but now situation is in corona situation, COVID situation. What is happening? Nobody is daring to put on their ACs because of if close temperature, cold temperature is there, that it will affect majorly, severely. So nobody, everybody has to think. We are human beings. We have to try our level best to conserve our environment, to conserve our surroundings. Act now to stop global warming. Global emissions of CO2 have increased by almost 50% since 1990s. See the situation. 1990s to 2020, 30 years, but CO2 levels due to deforestation. The major thing is the deforestation. CO2 levels are rising. If CO2 levels are rising, major global gas is the CO2, carbon dioxide. Major sink for carbon dioxide is the forest, plant. If we are eradicating, if we are cutting, if we are degrading the forest, what will happen in our future generations? How we are getting oxygen? First thing. Everybody may not survive if we may not get proper oxygen 1 minute. Within 2 minutes, nobody can survive. But see the thing, what is happening? Situation is going on very vigorously. For that, each and every individual has to plant more trees. Not only plantation, conservation of plant, protection of plant is also mandatory for this climate action. At the same time, utilization of, which are releasing carbon dioxide, which are, chlorofluorocarbons, methane, which are increasing. We have to reduce all these global gases. Life below water. See the situation. Whatever you are throwing into the dustbin, whatever you are throwing into the outside of your home, finally everything entered into the water bodies. Even though if here it is plastic, any dump, especially plastic, because it has long life, more than 1,000 years it can sustain in environment, plastics. Hence, you have to avoid plastics first to protect water bodies. Conserve and sustainably use the oceans, seas, marines. These are resources for sustainable development. First thing, avoid plastic bags to keep the ocean clean. Why, ma'am? Where we are going to up to the ocean and then we are throwing to the plastic bags? Just now I told you, wherever you are throwing plastic bags, it can survive, that bag can survive more than 1,000 years. Even though if here, incineration is going on also, it may not degrade it may not decompose in the earth as individual elements. It is there as the monomers, having lot of effect. Finally, whenever rain will come through water, finally it entered into the water bodies, maybe rivers or oceans. All the marine life, riverine life will be affected. 3 billion people depend on marine and coastal biodiversity for their livelihood. Especially coastal people. They are depending on that. If we are affecting with these plastics, that livelihoods also affect. Due to biomagnification, that entire plastic comes to us only while we are eating. Without thinking of these things, we are simply throwing. We are simply misusing. So careful management of this essential global resource is a key feature of sustainable development. Otherwise, everywhere will be affected. Life below water means life on earth, life on land. Protect, restore, and promote sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems. Sustainably manage forest, combat desertification, halt and reverse land degradation, halt biodiversity loss. Protect, restore, conserve, promote sustainable use of ecosystems, all kind of ecosystem, maybe forest or grassland, whatever it may be. Each and every ecosystem having their own important roles, their importance. You has to protect it. You has to manage sustainably. Then reduce deforestation, desertification, everything. Plant a tree and help protect the environment. So if desertification is going on, deforestation is going on, degradation is going on everywhere, plant a tree and help the environment, protect the environment. Forests are home to more than 80% of all. See, forests are home to more than 80% of all living beings, all terrestrial species of animals, plants, insects, everybody. See the crisis going on. If you can conserve it, you can conserve. I mean, human beings will sustain, or otherwise there is a lot of problem. Then next goal is peace and justice, strong institutions. Bioorder, to sustain bioorder, to promote peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development. Provide access to justice for all and build effective, accountable and inclusive institutions at all levels. Human values, ethics is most important to get peacefulness. If you have to build a good nation, you have to plant a peace of nation, peace of nature. That is most important. Access to justice for all. So whatever it may be, wherever it may be, justice is mandatory to everybody. And building effective, accountable institutions at all levels. Stand up for human rights, values, ethics, and responsibilities. So if you may not stand on human rights, for your rights, individual rights, if you are thinking your individual rights, at the same time, if you have to think your responsibilities too for good nation, bright nation. Otherwise, only if you are thinking your rights only, who will take the responsibilities? Everywhere, rights and responsibilities are equal. If you are feeling rights and certain things, certain nation, you have the responsibilities to our nation. This is very, very important thing on each individual directions. Values, ethics for developing of peace and justice. Goal 17 is the last goal in the sustainable developments. Partnerships to achieve the goal. Partnerships to achieve the goal. So only simply think, you are thinking, so I am in good manner. So what is there? Anywhere, remaining society, where it is going on. If you are thinking that, that is not good. Partnership is collaboration, coordination is required to achieve the goal. Strengthen the means of implementation and revitalize the global partnership for sustainable development. Individual may not get sustainable development. With unity, with coordination only we can get the sustainable development. With partnership only we can get the sustainable development. Lobby your government to boost developmental financing and then revitalize the global partnership for sustainable development. This is very, very, very important thing. Very, very important goal in aspect of all 17s. Without partnership, without coordination, without collaboration, simply we are blaming China. COVID-19 virus is, they are preparing like that. So if, okay, they lost their values, then we have to sustain with good partnership and then good relationship every day. These are the sustainable development goals. Sustainable development goals for sustainable future. That is the sustainable development. Development in the sense not only economic development, all these directions, all 17 are equally right. These are very, very important. Then every individual has to initiate in this direction. Propagate all these values for getting sustainable nature, sustainable development, sustainable environment.